Hi, I'm Ava Lynn. Welcome to Buddhism in Life, a peaceful space to learn, reflect, and live with mindfulness. The modern American landscape is often defined by a familiar image: Washington, D.C. paralyzed, endless budget debates, the constant threat of government shutdowns, and two political parties that seem to live in entirely different realities. The American people watch, feeling exhausted, anxious, and helpless. Political analysts point to causes like ideological polarization, special interests, or the structure of the electoral system. But from a Buddhist perspective, political gridlock isn't just an institutional problem, it is a symptom, a collective manifestation of the three poisons of the mind: greed, hatred, and delusion. At the core of all conflict is ego clinging, Adavada, the mistaken attachment to a self that we believe is separate and permanent. In American politics, this self has expanded to become the partisan self. A person doesn't just have a political opinion, they become that opinion. I am a Democrat. Once this self is established, anything that threatens it is seen as an enemy. An idea from the other side is no longer just an idea, it's an attack on my very identity. Compromise, which is the foundation of democratic governance, becomes viewed as a failure, a loss of self. Gridlock doesn't happen because two ideas can't meet. It happens because two massive egos refuse to yield. The egos refuse to yield to the smallest degree. They would rather let the entire system collapse than admit their ego might be wrong or need adjustment. This is arrogance, mana, disguised as principle. If ego clinging is the explosive, then greed and aversion are the detonators. Greed, Lobha. In politics, greed isn't just about money. It is craving, tanha, the thirst for power, ensai, ari sai kanta aumakumain, or the thirst for recognition, wandam, the thirst to win the next election. When a politician casts a vote, the question in their mind is often not what is best for the country, but how does this help me get re-elected? This clinging to power makes them willing to sacrifice the long-term good of the nation for a short-term political victory. They cannot pass a good bill if it means the other side also gets credit. Aversion, dosa, hatred. Political gridlock is fed by the energy of anger. Social media, 24/7 news channels, and political ad campaigns are all based on provoking hatred. It is easier to unite people against something than for something. They, the opposition, are portrayed not as fellow citizens with different views, but as evil, immoral enemies trying to destroy the country. When you view your opponent with hatred, you cannot listen. You can only attack, obstruct, and veto. Gridlock is the act of doing nothing, weaponized by aversion. This is the deepest and most dangerous poison. Delusion, or ignorance, is the lack of understanding of the true nature of reality. The greatest delusion in American politics is separation, the illusion that Democrats and Republicans are two independent entities, and that one can win while the other loses. The teachings of dependent origination and interbeing shatter this illusion. Dependent origination. Everything exists in reliance upon other things. The prosperity of a farmer in a red state depends on the infrastructure bridges, roads funded by the federal government, which includes blue states. The health of a worker in a blue state depends on the food supply chain coming from those red states. Or interbeing. This is the word Thich Nhat Hanh used. Looking deeply into a Democrat, we see the Republican. They are. Political gridlock is like the left hand and the right hand of the same body refusing to cooperate. The right hand says, I will not help the left hand because it is the other side. But when the body needs to work, both fail. Political gridlock is the symptom of a nation that has forgotten the truth of interbeing. They believe they can harm the other part of the country without harming themselves. This is the height of delusion. The path out. Buddhism doesn't just diagnose, it offers a path. The solution to collective gridlock cannot come from Washington alone. It must begin in the mind of every citizen. The starting point is right view. Practice seeing, interbeing. When you watch the news, ask yourself, what is the suffering on the other side? What fear is driving them? Recognize that they too just want to be safe and happy like you. This is the foundation of compassion, karuna. The next steps are right thought and right speech. Stop consuming hatred. Are you watching news channels or following social media accounts just to feel angry? Iwenstekinen, ensaki, onsaki, kandinandinsten, mucky, and confirm your ego is correct. When speaking about politics, try to use compassionate speech, even in disagreement. The goal is to understand, not to win.
I never thought I'd feel this way again, you know? It's like the sun finally came out.
The final practice is right mindfulness. When a political headline pops up, observe your emotions. Do you feel your heart race? Aversion. Ayafayum ginsainos kandi. Do you feel a sense of pleasure when the other side fails? Greed. Sumausabakhaun amausayishamai. Mindfulness allows you to see these emotions without being carried away by them. You create a space between the news and your reaction. In that space, you can choose compassion over hatred. Hold on the theme of conscious choice. Conclusion. America's political gridlock is not a battle between good and evil. It is a collective tragedy where all sides are trapped in ancient mental patterns, ego clinging, greed, aversion, and delusion. The system will not change until the people within it change. And that change begins with a simple act: to stop, to breathe, and to recognize that the enemy we are fighting is in so many ways a reflection of the illusions and fears within ourselves. Buddhism in life. Learn the Buddha's way. Cultivate humanity.